3, 2, 1.
Here we go!
Welcome to ASD Market Week's YouTube series, Retail Revelations Inside the Deal. This is your all-access pass to the world of buying and selling in the retail space. We're getting candid and having real conversations on what it takes to get the deal done. This is Retail Revelations Inside the Deal. Hello and welcome to Retail Revelations Inside the Deal. I'm your host, Stephanie Beringhele, and today we have a treat. Joining us, we have the one and only Vic Darcy from All Things Circular. Vic, welcome to the show.
Oh, Stephanie, thank you very much for having me. It's a bit different for me this time. This is the first time I'm being a guest on a podcast.
Well, it's about time because intriguing minds, we have a lot of questions and we want you to spill the beans. I'm going to start because you have a really amazing title, so much that I was so scared to say it at the beginning of this announcement. So I have it written. You're the Chief Value Recovery and Partnership Officer. Tell us what that means and how you came to be at All Things Circular.
Oh, wow. No, there's a story. So I spent the majority of my career at Cisco where I was involved in various different parts of the remanufacturing business. And what I mean by that is it wasn't just sales. So I was responsible for partly responsible for the creation of their brokerage program, which was called Cisco Access back in 2013. And that became a really successful program. I also built and ran the first e-commerce platform for the business. Oh. Yeah. And it was the first one within Cisco, actually, not just within Cisco Refresh, which rolled up into Capital. And then along with my managing partner and chief circularity officer of All Things Circular, Mr. Rich Bulger, the pair of us created the Cisco ITAD program, which was Cisco's first sort of toe dipping into the water of selling products on an as-is basis. But throughout my journey, one thing that I learned about myself, one thing that I learned I was very good at was creating relationships and also punching through walls. Sometimes nicely, sometimes not. Yes. So I am a legal sort of nightmare. and you're babysitting by a lawyer at times. But, as you know, when you're building new things, you've got to break a few eggs. And I'm quite good at that. So, but I built my career really on finding and building new go-to-markets. And I have this uncanny knack for being able to kind of see a path to revenue that isn't necessarily visible to most other people. So I just have this skill where I can see into the future and go, there's money over there. Oh. Let's go. Yeah. So Chief Value Recovery is because I've done value recovery on both surplus equipment, on e-commerce sales, but also on ITAD, which is asset disposition equipment. So across the full gambit as far as a tech manufacturer was concerned. And partnerships, because I've sat in a vendor, I've sat in a disti, I know lots of partners, I know lots of ITADs. So the partnership piece really comes from my network. Nearly 30 years in industry. You tend to grow a network, and it's one of the most important things, I think, for us as individuals is, to leverage your network. And people buy from people at the end of the day. There isn't a secret sauce to sales. It's actually take it right back to basics. Understand your product, understand your buyer, and go make friends.
Friends. It's a lost talent, I think. It makes you the most interesting person because not only are you sassy and you're not afraid to be so, but you're doing something that every company, every corporation wants a person to do within their establishment, and that is to find value where others can't. Yeah. So I think that part is very interesting, and I am an avid listener to your podcast that you do. And one of the first episodes that you did with Rich, you were talking about you guys bump heads. You bumped heads in your previous work, but you have to because you have to ask the hard questions, and you have to push for more. So I know that secondhand is hot. It is everywhere in the market. Tell us a little about that. What is the current state of the industry when it comes to circular product line, and what have you learned by having those conversations?
I think the biggest shift at the moment has been in the mindset of the individual. And I think we have platforms like Vinted to thank for that. Because, and also, if we go back into history, we look at our grandparents, they had this mend and make do attitude. Whereas sort of going then forward into the generations, through my parents, even through myself, we had this overconsumptive model. We had this, if it's broken, go and buy a new one. If that's got a tear in it, go, there wasn't this kind of, the sewing kits of old were lost. And it was a case of, I'll just go and buy a new one. That's my reason to go and buy a new one. And I think those behaviours have actually come full circle. And I think now people are really aware of overconsumption. I think economy's got an awful lot to do with it. The kids of today, say the kids, anybody that's kind of coming up the ranks today has it harder than we had it. Everything is more expensive. Rent, utilities, the cost of living is more expensive, and wages haven't kept up with those, with those costs to live. So I think there has now naturally come this, okay, how can we extract more out of what we've got? I think that's the first one. I think the second one is those in the workforce now, and those entering the workforce now are the very first that have had climate on their agenda since they were kids. I remember when the ozone layer had a hole in it I think it must be the early 90s, and it was this big anti-CFC thing. And that was probably my first experience and exposure to environmental factors and to what humans are doing to have a negative impact on the planet. Whereas those, again, coming up through the ranks now and in the ranks now have actually had that as part of their psyche. They've had that throughout their growing up. And because of that, they're better environmental stewards. They're more educated. They're more aware of it. And they are prepared, I suppose, to really look at it and say, right, okay, I value this. I value this as much as I value what I'm going to get paid. And therefore, I believe that is pushing and shaping the mandates of businesses, because they have to be good citizens because of it. So I think first and foremost, I'm definitely seeing that this shift in the behaviours of the individual. And I think that is now translating into business. When I first started, we used to call Cisco Refresh was Refurbished. It was the CCRE program, Cisco Certified Refurbished Equipment. And even now, 20 years later, well, it started in 25 years later, it started in the year 2000. Even now, some of the old stalwarts will still call it CCRE, even though it's different iterations and changes. But there was also this hesitancy to sell it, because the biggest barrier against selling remanufactured equipment is the seller themselves, because they think it cannibalizes their new sale. They think, okay, I'm going to have to sell more of this product to reach my quota. If I sell it to this customer, that's all they're ever going to want, and they fear it versus actually embracing it. We used to joke you had to sell it twice. You had to sell it once internally and once to the customer. So it was like this dual sale to actually get anything done. But that's the days of old. And I think now you've got organizations who are really wanting to set their stall out against having those right behaviors. You've got mandates coming in. For example, I think there's green in the government in the UK. There's the French mandate, which is probably the strongest one in Europe, where in the public sector now, 25% of all materials for an RFP need to come from reused or renewed sources. They must do. And if they don't, you can't reply to that tender. And that's going up next year to 40%. So France have really gone for this. Then the UK is up at 20%. Through the Green and the Government initiative. Ireland also have something similar. So again, you're seeing policy begin to shape behaviours as well. And then you're seeing cost. I was at a wonderful organisation yesterday, actually, and we were talking about how leasing companies actually, to begin with, wouldn't lease remanufactured equipment. They'd only lease new. So again, they're cementing those behaviours to that linear economy. Whereas now leasing companies, particularly within the context that I was having this conversation yesterday, and this is for education, they were saying the leasing companies wouldn't stand up refurbished equipment for education for schools. And that's for laptops. And you're just like, why? Whereas that's now changed. So now you've got schools who are openly now looking for this remanufactured, recertified equipment. So those are the first ones. And then looking then again at changes in the industry, because we have seen the past would say used is scratched, it's dented, it's devalued. The vendor's long since given up on it. You're not going to get a great experience. And now we have these recertification programs, and that really is the key. Because if you're going to look to purchase something and it's been recertified by the vendor, that is your mark of authenticity. It is your mark of quality. And grading is really, really important, because if you tell the customer what they're going to get and you set the right expectation level, you're not going to have customer satisfaction issues off the back of it. So, yeah, so there's lots of things that are going on, but I think fundamentally it is society has changed, the workforce is changing, the environment is changing, policy is changing, and I think desirability and the certification is changing. There you go. Few answers there for you.
In a nutshell. So there's a few things I want to dig into, because first of all, there's the peer pressure. When the government says that here's the criteria, and then other nations start looking at that, I think it's very impactful. The second thing is, and I'm very, I probably shouldn't say this, so I am terrible at mending anything. And my poor son has stuffies. He loves his stuffies, right? And sometimes there's holes in them, and he comes, he goes, Mom, can you fix the dog or the puppy? And I go, I don't know how to do it. But for him, he will probably take a sewing class, because he has been so appalled at my inability to cure his puppy that has a hole in it. But there's a desire, and it's a generational thing of, hey, I find value in this item. How do I maintain it so that I can keep it, because it means that much to me? So I think that the peer pressure, and then what you were saying, the economy right now, whew, you have companies that are saying, how do I refurbish computers and laptops so that way that we can extend the life cycle and give that to a new employee? And then you also have it where people are saying same thing about phones. So the range of product and the people that are leaning into this space is larger than I think we've ever seen before.
I agree with you, because you take it into a different direction. There's a couple of great examples, Patagonia being one, the clothes brand. Patagonia have come out with multiple offerings where, first of all, they'll take your old item back and give you a discount on something new. They'll take your old items back and they'll remake them into something else. So you can actually go and buy a product that has been made from the different parts of traded in products, which I absolutely loved. And that, what people don't realize, that gives brand loyalty. There's a really famous case out over here with, and it was a big designer brand, and it's a few years ago now. But versus actually having this second sale and sale to this second customer, they incinerated tens of millions of pounds worth of clothing. Incinerated. And I get it from a brand protection perspective, because they didn't want that second customer. They didn't value that second customer. They want to keep the price of their goods high, and therefore the exclusivity high. It wasn't the right thing to do. The right thing to do in that case would have been to build in circularity in the design phase. Take them apart, be able to remake other things from them. And hopefully, that is a story of the past. But another great one, which I think is a fantastic example of this, and my colleagues Rich and Peter teach a masterclass on reverse logistics and on circularity, and this is actually forms one of the modules. So sorry, chaps, I'm stealing it. But one of the case studies they look at is Decathlon, and Decathlon is a sports brand. Would it be? Oh, it's not Fry's over where you. The big sports warehouses where you can go and buy a canoe, or you can go and buy, a tennis racket. And Decathlon, they're a French company. And they built a returns portal. So let's just say the badminton racket is the example that they use. So I've got an old badminton racket. You take a picture of it. It gives you a value then and there. And let's just say, okay, it's 12 euros for it, because they're French. You take the badminton racket in, you deliver it to on site there. So you trade it in there and you get your voucher then and there for your 12 euros. What do you do with that 12 euros?
I'm going to spend it again.
Are you just going to spend 12 euros? Probably not.
No,
right?
more.
Exactly. So not only have they given you a value for that item is then, refurbished, resold, dealt with in a circular manner. You're then stood in that store with the gift voucher, and you're thinking, what do I need? Because it's, and then, of course, when you're off and shopping, you're going to spend more. So that's brand loyalty, but that's increased wallet share. And this is where circularity and these behaviors become a competitive advantage. They become a tool, particularly because certainly in Europe, We have, and I know you have it over there as well, business parks. And so there are two brands over here. There's Decathlon and there's something called Sports Direct, and they compete. And generally, they sit on the same piece of real estate. Well, if I've got my used badminton racket and Decathlon have just given me £12 for it, I'm going into Decathlon and I'm not going into Sports Direct. It's a competitive weapon. So yeah, just some really interesting examples of circularity in action, and I think businesses need to stop seeing this as a threat, start seeing this as an advantage, and use it to your advantage.
And this is the portion that makes me so excited, because it's very antiquated thoughts of saying, I will not lean into this space, because now you have to. You just said it the best. It's a competitive edge that you have for customer loyalty. Right now, tariffs are coming into play. So people and retailers specifically, they have to get very resourceful with the product lines that they put in their stores. They have to make it interesting, and word of mouth travels far too. So talk to me about retailers today, how they can keep that competitive edge and why they should really lean into this space. Do you have any other examples that are similar to that one?
So, I mean, there's examples everywhere, right? But I think whether you are, a small shop or a large conglomerate, I think he's being open to the returns. And again, from the masterclass, what people talk about is compelling down the returns that you don't want, the misshipments, the errors, the misdeliveries, and returning up the ones that you do want, which is that product that can be graded and resold to your second customer. Because regardless of industry, your second customer is likely not the same profile as your first customer. Mm-hmm. So if you begin to look at this like an opportunity to then be able to say, well, if I've got this first set of customer A's, but actually I'm looking to grow my business, what potentially is that second customer? Are they aspirational to your brand? Are they aspirational to your product set? Are they a customer that is under budget constraints? How can I harness them? And it's not just the second customer; it's the third customer. But then also look at the wallet share that you can get. So we spoke about Decathlon and about how by getting somebody into a retail store that they can. That they can increase their spending power. But then look at, okay, so let's just say I'm a manufacturer of things. What can I add? So that I get that product back, what can I add onto that product to be able to then say, right, okay, could I add a license onto it? Well, licenses are brilliant because it's so margin rich. And effectively, you've got one piece of hardware that's giving you two slices of margin, on licensing. Services, support, after sales care. There's all sorts of upsell opportunities within most fields and most products that translates across that first customer and that second customer. So I think for me, it is to understand the differences between your first and your second customer. Also understand that they have different price points, they have different after sales potential, and hit that at the right level. So for example, if you're going to have a mobile phone, right? So you've got the service packet for the first user, then you resell it to the second one for a lower cost. You can't charge the same service that you charge for the new product. It's going to look slightly off. So I think it is understanding the second customer and getting the right products and getting the right sales into that second customer. So yeah, that would be my advice. But I think it's open your eyes, learn about them, and really begin to see the opportunity across your potential customer base, not just those that are coming to you for that first sale.
Very well said. And the common thing that I'm finding is that value. There's a note of customers want value. And I think when you look at a store and you start to break down, if you want to really be empowered as a retail store, you need to look at how you can diversify the product that's in your storefront. And that means a little bit of private label, a little bit of resale, a little bit of refurbished goods, and then the new brands that it doesn't matter that it costs a lot. It's tried and true and people want to see it. But if you can compile that so it's balanced very well, your customers are going to be so excited to come in because they're not going to know what they're going to get. Go, oh, I better buy this because there's only one of them, right? So I think that's how retailers are going to have to really start to play around with it. And that means that the buyer is responsible for making sure that the inventory is in store, meets that criteria. How do these retailers, how do they protect that secondhand product that's in their stores? You're talking about grading.
Yeah, so grading is really critical because it's the key differentiator between that first and the second sale. What you don't understand when you are getting product back is the condition that it's going to be in. Because if you're going to get a device back from me, well, it's going to probably be okay-ish. You're going to get a device back from my child, oh, that's ruined. So it's very much, understanding then, okay, how do we then grade what comes back? Because yes, both of them could probably be refurbished to different standards, but it's very key that the customer that you sell it to understands the standards that they're going to get. So, there's good, better, best. In its basic format, you've got, others that will grade A through E, 1 through 9. I've seen, various different ones. There's cosmetic, there's functional, there's various different mechanisms dependent upon what it is that you are selling and what it is that you're grading. But I think retailers really need to understand how to get that right, because that comes down to either having a happy customer and a repeat customer or an unhappy customer. Mobile phones is a great example, actually. When I first set up my business, I wanted to buy a refurbished handset. We eat your own dog food. I work in this industry, and I did. I went to Apple. So I had the brand, I had the certification, I had the quality. It was like new. I've still got it now. It's an iPhone 14. I've still got it now. So I don't need a 16. I don't need a 17. And it works perfectly well for what I needed it to do. And then today, actually for a friend of mine, I was trying to buy him a laptop through my contacts. And we ended up buying a good Microsoft Surface Pro from one of the people that I work with. Now, he then understood because he needed it for really, really basic stuff. Yes, it's got Windows 11 on it. That was one of his things that he needed. That was probably the only thing that he needed. But it was £150, for a Microsoft laptop. So again, it met his needs, it met his budget, and he's quite fine with that good disposition. So it's getting it right. Vintage is another one. I sold a jacket yesterday for £1 because I'd ripped it on a piece of barbed wire on a walk, and I've like you. There's no sewing kit in my house.
No.
Well, there probably is. It would be my grandma's, right? But know your worth, know your skills, and there was nothing wrong with it other than it had been a small tear. So I put it on. I showed the tear. There's no point in that going into recycling. It's perfectly functional jacket. I just didn't have the desire or the skills to fix it. So I sold it for £1, and somebody's now probably, as we speak, joyfully kind of stitching it up and wearing it. Perfect.
You just brought up such a good point. Okay, consumers are very finicky, right? I don't ever want to get a new phone because I don't understand it. It's very difficult. I am not user friendly. I usually can't understand half of the apps that are on there. So no, I don't want the newest phone. It doesn't excite me. I want the old phone. I want the iPhone 11 because I understand how it works. So yes, give it to me. I want to buy that for cheap, know that I can work it. And then if I need another one, I'm going to go straight back to that one probably. So consumers know what they want. And in the past, I don't think that people understood that, oh, that means so much to me. I don't need the newest, greatest thing. The refrigerators were made better back in the day, right? I want that old refrigerator, not the new one that's going to break on me. So that was a lost element that is very much, I think, forward thinking in today's mind today, right?
See, I love what you just said there because, and it is a controversial thing to say, but let's go for it. I think there is certainly for a phase, obsolescence was built in. There's the famous light bulb story, right? The built-in obsolescence that people had to buy new light bulbs periodically. And again, because you are right, the quality that existed way back when, they didn't break. I mean, there are, to your point, refrigerators going from the 50s and 60s that's still going now. Whereas, where we have 5, 6, 7 years out of one, and then, that cycle, that upgrade cycle, that resale cycle. So yeah, I really hope that that quality and that build quality does come back. It'd be interesting to watch digital product passports here because they're coming in on a lot of items. I think fridges may be in the first sweep actually because it is more consumer based, and it would be interesting to then see because you'd be able to track it. And it's one thing that I do think is missing in our industry is tracking the longevity of the products in the market.
I would love to see that as well. And I think that's a valid point. Right now, I have a broken refrigerator, broken washer and dryer, and please believe the dishwasher's not working too great either. So I am all for these digital footprints. So I want to go into misconceptions and you being in an industry that's it's emerging right now. You're probably one of the forerunners. You're starting from the ground up to really do that education process to say that this, again, extends through all different categories. So how is it working in this industry and being a mom and all that stuff?
Jerry, it can be really hard. It is because it's still very male dominated. We do still find ourselves being more in the minority. One thing that has changed is because this is still almost an emerging art, people are beginning to understand it. And even I did a speech a couple of months ago, actually, and it was to a group of brokers. And brokers traditionally have been masters at acquiring product, finding the best margin opportunity and being able to sell that product. But this is in the IT world. However, what they couldn't then do was do the disposition. And then what was happening was their previous product supply chains were actually being approached by people that could do the disposition, could do this, had the service DNA, could come and decommission and get these products out. They then realized that if I give a value to this product, I can buy it before it gets to the brokers. So the brokers were actually finding their inventory pool squeezed because their supply chain was being squeezed. Now, the ITADs then had to really learn that actually you can't and you shouldn't just, be flipping this for zero margin. There is margin in it. So there had to be this merge of the two skills. And it's really interesting that even in an industry that is, very, very mature, now it's having to change and adapt because circularity is a lot more now than just, buying and selling. You have to understand the product. You have to understand how to sell it, where to get it. And so you've seen this kind of it's certainly in the IT sphere, this kind of this crosshatch of skill sets. But I think when you come at it as more of a subject matter expert, I think it's different, right? You don't necessarily get the connotations of old as to, she's a woman, she's got platinum blonde hair. But I mean, don't get me wrong, though, it has happened, right? I've been in industry since 1999. I've been called a dolly bird once.
Oh, what does that mean?
It means, somebody with zero brains.
Oh, no.
Yeah. It was crazy when you think about it, right? But then, the juggle of being a mom, right? It's hard. But I think for me, I really want to show my daughter that, you can have the career that if you work hard, if you strive for it, and if you believe in yourself, but also you believe in your products or you believe in what you're doing, that you can have this career. And don't get me wrong, it doesn't come without sacrifices, which you will well know. You can't make all the sports days, or you have to miss certain events because you are working, and those weigh heavy because there is the guilt, the parent guilt. I wouldn't just say it's just mom guilt; I'd say it's parent guilt because I think dads have felt it for many years. So there is this balance that you have to strike. But for me, it's really important that she gets to see that she can be successful if she works hard, and if she works hard and wants something enough and is prepared to put the work into it, that she can get it. And I'm quite clear with my daughter that, if we go on a road trip or we do something, that she understands what quantified as being able to do it, Well, mummy went here and we did this, and because we did this, we can now do that. And she begins to understand that, one of the things I say to her is actions have consequences. And she's being told off, but it's the same thing, right? The more you put in, the more you get out, right? But it is hard. It is hard. I just think, and being a mom of a girl, and I know you have one of each, but being a mom of a girl, I think it's really important that I show her that girls can and do have careers, and that, she can too if she chooses to.
It's so interesting because we went to the school and there was other high schoolers that came through and they said, hey, we were pitching their school for my daughter to go to. And she's looking at all the options going, oh, well, I want that one because they have clubs and there's a swim team and it's fantastic. And I'm looking at the price tag going, oh my, I need to do some side selling, some side hustle to make that work. But the whole conversation led to, if you want this great opportunity for this very specific school that meets all your criteria, you're going to have to put in the work for it. And that means you too will have to compromise your time. Maybe you don't go out on a Friday night. Maybe you don't do ABC and you invest more time in your studies and you learn and you have conversations and you have curious minds. So it's easier as they get older because I think then they understand, oh, I want this bigger picture. I have to make these sacrifices now to get there, which is just what parents are doing in the workforce. We have to choose selectively what we are willing to miss and what we choose to be part of, while also saying, how do I take care of myself? So all that to say, how do you keep yourself sane with your crazy travel schedule? Because I see you all over the place with the cute dog that just barged in, the daughter. How do you keep it all sane?
Oh gosh, I mean, you do and you don't, right? It's the swan. It kind of looks graceful on the surface, and underneath, you're like, how many balls did I drop this week? And I think it's, you have to be kind to yourself. I think you have to forgive yourself. I think you have to be real with yourself. So don't take too much on. I had a crazy schedule this summer where I was traveling like a mad woman, and it really it actually had quite a negative impact on me. So then this month that we've just gone through, I've not traveled at all. I've not been anywhere, and it's been wonderful. I've been home, I've been present. And I think it's then be present when you're home. Really, really be present. I mean, I got rid of social media actually, just because don't need it. Reading it like the newspaper. What do I need to? I don't need it. Be more present. We've actually got more back into board games and trying to actually do things that invoke this connection. We try and go out for dinner once a week, to really have these rituals almost that are very important to the family. But also to pick up on something that you said and just go slightly differently with it. As much as, I have the guilt of missing certain things, I make sure that I don't miss everything. I really do. And I will cancel a meeting, or I will say no to a meeting if there is a hockey game that I said I will go to, or if there is the school play, or if there is something, because not everything is worth it, right? And people don't lie on their deathbeds going, I should have done that meeting, right? It's very much this, yes, I need to work because yes, I need to earn the funds to support my family, but I have a family and that needs respect too. And I think that's been a great change over the last 10 years, actually, that businesses and organizations are much more open to people saying no and people pushing back and saying, actually, no. In fact, I pushed back on a meeting today because we've got friends coming over for dinner. I said, no, I've got to cook. No.
Yeah. You mean there's no drive-through or?
Actually,
you're going to order in and put it on a plate?
There's mac and cheese in the freezer that's actually going to come out.
It's interesting. So social media is something very interesting to me because lately I've really been responding well to, I look at quotes first thing in the morning, just positive, really good, inspirational quotes, because I want that first half hour of my day to be filled with inspiration and just, what am I going to do differently today? So that, as well as just reading articles on what's going on in the industry, so I feel educated and refreshed. And then that first phone call or that first meeting happens, and it is what it is. It's out of my control, but I've already set the mode for the day. Don't rain on my parade or rain on my vibes, right? I'm ready to go. Let's do this today. And that's been a great reminder, because sometimes you get so lost and the day just goes so quick and other people's energies tear you away from being in that right frame of mind. So that's something that I've been trying to do, and it's worked pretty well. I'm on week 1, so I'll keep you posted.
do I'd be interested to see how you go, because I'm only on week 1 of getting rid of social media, and I think it's been positive for me so far. I wasn't getting anything from it other than Christmas present ideas.
Okay. No money in the bank.
No, right?
So I want to wrap this up. You got to join us at ASD Market Week for the very first time. And I always like to hear how people respond to coming to this show for the first time. So, what are your thoughts when you got there? And are you surprised that we had so many companies that play within the circular world?
The first thing that struck me was the sheer size of the place. If people haven't been to Vegas, I don't think they understand the scale of those event spaces, because certainly in Europe, there's nothing that will compare to it at all. There's no way. Because we're talking multiple football fields. So there's not just one hall, there's 3 halls that you had. Was it 3?
Mhm.
I only made it into, I was there all day and I made it into one hall, which was, and it was phenomenal. I was on the phone to my daughter actually as I was wandering past one of the stores. It happened to be selling toys, and it was a video call, and she saw the Barbies. She's like, "Mummy, can you buy me a Barbie?" I'll buy a pallet. But I should have bought the pallet and come home and sold them. So I think it's the breadth and depth of the products that were on offer. From bedding through to vehicles, from Game of Thrones type memorabilia, or whatever the stuff they call, which the replicas, all the way through to balloon stall. It was absolutely incredible. And then I won. I participated, did a bit of audience participation on the Whatnot stall, won some makeup, which was
Fun. Mm-hmm.
but no, and had some really, really interesting conversations. Everyone there is invested in what they do. They understand it. And also, I think if you are interested, or if you are in retail and you have not got circular products in your portfolio, you are missing out, because you could go to ASD and it doesn't matter if you've got no idea what it is you want to sell. You'll walk out there with 20 ideas of what you want to sell and be able, over the course that the market week is on, to write a business plan and actually go and execute it. That, for me, is the phenomenal opportunity. It's almost like circularity for starters, right?
Yes.
Because everything is there. Right? So yeah, you go get inspiration, build to your strengths, and use the guys that are there. The global footprint of it was astronomical. You can be anywhere in the world. It's not just US based. But also with what people are doing, it's wonderful for idea generation. Just because somebody's doing it in Cambodia doesn't mean you can't do it in France, right? So it's a wonderful community, and it was just bonding around the deals being done. It was a hotbed of deal activity, right? Good fun, really good fun. I enjoyed it. Thank you for having me.
It's so fun. We were so happy to have you. And we're going to extend for 2026. We're done with construction. So everything's going to be nice and tight within this space. We're creating a hub. And within this hub, we're really going to lean into thought leaders and have networking and discussions that are very specific to the resale world, to gift. And we're going to really capture those communities to dig in deeper with the conversation and the partnerships and the connections. Everything that you talked about at the beginning of this episode is you really have to have strong partnerships to do the right kind of business, because you never know who's going to be able to help support you. And it's vital that you have good standing with people in this community, because if you're a shady character, it comes around and we will blow it up on social and we will tell everyone, don't do business with this person. But if they're good, we're going to say, they're amazing. You should go check them out, and they're tried and true. So that's what's coming in 2026. And please believe after this, we're going to have a separate call because I want you in it.
Well, I think we would love to be there, right? Because education is key to all of this stuff. Arm yourself with the information which will allow you to go and be successful in this world. And I love what you said there about, the shady characters, because again, people, when they think about this industry, they tend to kind of draw those conclusions. And it really couldn't be further from the truth, because none of us want to be dealing with the dodgies. Nobody wants to be dealing in counterfeit or dealing with stolen or, anything that either supports a criminal enterprise or is indeed illegal. And what people don't realize is whether you are in tech, whether you are in clothing, it doesn't really matter, but we're self-certifying. right? We will call out those that are found to have poor business practices, that are found to be dealing with counterfeit. And we will, as a collective, expel them from the community that we all work in. Circularity is there to help keep products in circulation longer. It's there to help us pull less resources out of the planet. It's there to help us with the economic challenges that we face. It's there to help us with, the tariff challenges that we face, and moving products around. Just look at 75% of carbon is in the creation of a product. That's kind of the rule of thumb. So if you're looking at this, even just from a sustainability, from an ESG perspective, there's a stat for you, right? So you can avoid carbon emissions by purchasing something that's used because it's embedded, it's already done, it's in there, right? Buy it used. You've saved that. That's avoiding new carbon by avoiding new manufacturing.
So true. All right. Last question. This is the big one. Predictions. 2026 is just around the bend. What is the future, or what do you hope the future is within the circular space?
I'm going to give you two answers.
Okay.
One based on fact, which isn't mine, and anybody can go and look this up. But retail returns are predicted to go over $1 trillion. $1 trillion. $1 trillion, right?
How much money? Euros.
It's nuts, right? And that's just retail, right? You start to put enterprise hardware in there, networking equipment. Look at hyperscalers, look at the servers, look at the growth in AI and look at the growth in data centers. A new data center is currently being built, and they reckon that the draw on power, I think, if I get this right, is 10 terawatts. Now, that, just to contextualize that for you, is just lower than the power draw of Manhattan. One data center, right? So look, and this is new materials, virgin materials that's going into all this, or into the vast majority of this stuff. But they're on a 3 to 5 year cycle. So what's happening when they're coming out, right? Where are they? Where are these assets going? So my prediction is that circularity is going to absolutely boom. I think if you are a tech vendor in particular without a remanufacturing program, wake up and smell the coffee.
Yep.
Your customers will look to your competitors because you're not going to be answering their needs. So I think we're going to see more tech vendors come out with remanufacturing programs that don't have them. Those that do, hopefully, will begin to expand them. And I think we're going to really start to see now the power of the collective, because we'll draw us all the way back to the start. Individuals' priorities are changing. Circularity is now part of the DNA, whether you're an individual or a business. And if you've not positioned yourself with a product, you're going to miss out.
Very well said. And you can learn so much. So I'm going to tell all my listeners, subscribe today. All Things Circular is such a great podcast. Vic also does a lot of articles on LinkedIn. She's a wealth of education, and she has great conversations with people from all different types of industries. So I would definitely encourage you to follow her. Vic, how do people find you? Is it just allcircularthings.com?
Allthingscircular.com is the website. You can find us on LinkedIn. There is myself, Victoria Darcy, Rich Bolger, Peter Evans, and Damien Pollock. So yeah, come to one of us, come to all of us. We're always interested in having conversations. It doesn't matter the industry. Even if you just want a bit of advice, or actually you're already doing something and you want to take it in a different direction, doesn't matter. We're open to those conversations.
An open call for all you ladies in the business. Come on, ladies. We want you out. We want to grow this portion of the business with some of us. So Vic is a perfect person, pioneer, mentor. I follow you on the daily, and I learned so much. And I'm so incredibly grateful that you joined me today. So thanks so much for everything, Vic.
Oh, you're welcome, Stephanie. Thank you so much for having me. It's been loads of fun being in the hot seat.
Here
we go.
Thank you for joining us. We want you to be a part of the show. So let us know who you want to see and what stories you want to hear. Leave us a comment and make sure you like and subscribe.